Good people, great people, guys, people. What's good? What's good? What's good? Good morning. Um, I decided to do an early broadcast this morning. The reason being is because one, I'm very much so obsessed with the way that this lighting looks right at this moment in time. But also two, I wasn't able to get off my podcast episode yesterday, so I decided to do early this morning. You dig what I'm saying? Um, as always, we are on YouTube and we are also on TikTok, right? We got the live flowing, everything's going, right? So, today we are going to talk about whether or not men are able to be, fully capable partners and show up in relationships. Now, before we get into any of that, I want to talk about a little bit of updates, you know what I'm saying? Things that we got to talk about for the tribe. First things first, I'm probably going to have to find some chapstick or something in the next couple minutes because my lips kind of ashy. It's bothering me. But, so updates. First and foremost, I've updated my website completely. I finished the updates for my website. So, www.blkwlth.com. If you go onto my website, you will see 3 links. It will be one link is for my application for coaching, personal one-on-one coaching with me. Ooh, it's something in my throat, y'all. Something in my throat. Hold on. But you will see that there are 3 links. One link is for one-on-one application to work with me as a life coach. The second link is to join my book clubs, and the third link is to join my mindful finance course and incubator. Those are the only 3 links that are available on my website. Other links will be available in my Instagram story because it's much easier for me to promote what it is that I have going on my Instagram story. And my TikTok will go back to being the platform to bring awareness to my podcast, which is what it is that we're doing right at this moment in time. The reason why I decided to do it that way is because, as y'all know, I tend to get a lot of community guidelines violations on TikTok, and I had to let my TikTok rest for a little bit just to get off of the radar of the community guidelines violations, but also just to kind of test some new waters to see what the TikTok algorithm is picking up right at this moment in time. And unusually, I haven't had the success that I've usually had with identifying the algorithm, so I'm going to try to just go back to what it is that I was doing originally to see whether or not, the algorithm picks back up what it is that I usually do, or the algorithm has changed a little bit to, begin pushing videos back to the For You page. But either way, you can find what it is that I'm doing most currently on my Instagram, and you can also enroll into my courses, enroll into my book clubs. Subscribe to my book clubs, or apply to work with me one-on-one on my Instagram page. All of those things are available on my Instagram page. And also for my people on TikTok, I've also upgraded the link on my TikTok as well. So the link on my TikTok is the same link that I'm talking about now. So that blackwealth.com link, that direct link is on my TikTok page as well. So anybody on my TikTok who is interested in joining my book clubs, joining my mindful finance incubator, or working with me, applying to work with me one-on-one, all of those things are available at that link in my TikTok bio. So now everybody's on the same page. We got everything going. So we're going to get it together. So I guess let's dive into the topic of the morning. So the question that I've posed is whether or not men are capable of being able partners in relationships, contemporary relationships, right? Now, before I get too deep into this, right, let me be very clear. I do not believe that anybody at any rate is unable to construct or develop a skill set that will get them closer to a prescribed goal. I don't believe that anybody is unable to do those things, unless there is some physical incapability or mental incapability or mental difficulty or obstacle or neurodivergence, any of those things that will create an instrumental difficulty in achieving a particular goal, then by all means, that makes a lot of sense. And those things always have to be identified as intersections because we can't see quote unquote disability. Like, there's no way to see it. So extending grace first and foremost makes the most sense in evaluating the quote unquote ability of somebody, because we don't want to get into, the dynamics of ableism. That's not what we want to do. So we want to ensure that this conversation is occurring from a space of, to the best of that person's current ability, right? So that's one. Two, when we are talking about the idea of being able, we are literally saying, is this person having an accessible to the, I guess you could say, elements or factors that would constitute to an overall completion of this goal. Now, y'all got to give me that hot second, because remember when I said I was going to need something to put on my lips? Yeah, it's around about that time. So this is going to be real ghetto, but I really don't care, because I'm not going to be on the YouTube with ashy lips. It's not going to happen. It's just not. So we going do. Nah, I'm a clown. But no, sincerely, we're looking at ability from the perspective of whether or not this person genuinely can do what it is that they have said that they are going to do. Right? Can they fulfill what it is that they say that they were going to fulfill in the time or within the space of a particular level of fulfillment? That's what we're looking for. Right? This is how we are defining ability in this space. So, do I believe that men are able to be sustainable, equitable partners in relationships? And the answer is absolutely. Like, I'm a black man. I would never say that men are unable to be, sustainable partners in relationships. That would be asinine in my mind, right? The question that I usually have is, are we able to identify the work that we need to do in order to be better partners? Right? Do we as men, or are we as men, emotionally intelligent enough to recognize what it looks like when we are not fulfilling particular emotional needs or meeting particular emotional needs of our partners? Do we have that range, or do we have that license? And usually what I've found is that we unfortunately do not. Not a lot of us, right? And I'm not saying, once again, that we are unable to complete these things. I'm not saying that we are, in some way, shape, or form not capable. What tends to happen is that because of the way that men are socialized, it makes it a little bit more difficult to, once again, create value systems that allow us to identify small things as emotionally viable or emotionally valuable. So this is what I mean. In Gottman is a the Gottmans are theorists that developed methods of evaluating relationships that allow clinicians to identify behavioral cues that can, in a lot of ways, signify how it is that partners are communicating with one another, whether or not they're seeking empathy, whether or not they're actually engaging with one another. And one of the behavioral indicators is very simple, right? So it's either the turn towards or the turn away from, right? And the turn towards and turn away is a behavioral response to what's called a bid. And a bid is sincerely a small communicative attempt to get a need met, right? So with these bids, there are three ways that you can usually respond. You can respond positively to the bid, you can not respond at all, or you can respond negatively to the bid, right? And in Gottman, what tends to occur is that if you are able to see how it is that the partners are either responding to these bids, turning towards or turning away, or not turning at all, to their other partners, you can begin to identify particular, or as a clinician, you can begin to glean particular, I guess you could say, dynamics or energetic things about their relationship, whether or not they agree on particular topics, whether or not they feel listened to, whether or not they feel validated, right? Body language says a lot in relationships. So Gottman doesn't just rely on body language, but that's one of the, quick and dirty ways that the analysis begins. Is this person or is this individual being honest in their openness to their partner? Are they really available in the physical moment with their partner? These bids, these very small asks, or these very small, searchings, or I guess you can call them invitations for communication, if we do not have an emotional intelligence that will pick up these things as bids, then a lot of times there can be a sense or a feeling of neglect, or a sense or a feeling of not being paid attention to. As men, we do not ascribe a lot of social value to small form bids to communication and engagement. And what I mean by small form is, perfect example. We as men are socialized to fix things, right? We are socialized to move. We are socialized to want to be or engage in particular types of development and growth with our partners. That socialization can lead to jumping over spaces where the partner is seeking empathy, right? That can lead to situations where we cut off our partners just to get to the point. Like, I just need you to get to the point. I just need you to get to the point. Yes. And being able to hold space for that conversation, or being able to hold space for that external emotional processing, is something that is a skill that communicates being present. It communicates having empathy. It communicates being in the same space with your partner, and being able to say to them, I'm here with you and I'm listening to you, right? So we as men don't place a lot of value on that exchange because it does not have anything to do with fixing something. I'm gonna tell y'all a story, dog. And this one of them stories that changed my life, cuz I promise you. So when I was in grad school, there was a class that I took, and I was the only man in that class. Like, I was the only brother in that class. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else were women or feminine presenting, various different skin tones, various different cultures, various different socioeconomic spectrums. The professor was a black woman with a doctorate, and she was pregnant. I ain't feel like I had no space to say nothing in that class. I ain't really want to say nothing in that. I'm like, nah, fam. Nah, G. This don't, let me sit down, shut up, and learn as much as I possibly can. No bullshit. It was genuinely what was on my mind. I did not feel that I had to defend the honor of black men in that classroom, because I knew at some point in time I was going to lose. Like, it ain't no way, bro. It ain't no way. It's all women plus the professor is black and pregnant. Yeah, nah, G. Pick your battles, my G. And that's exactly what the hell I did. So, I'm in this class, and one day, one of my classmates says something that is flabbergasting to me as a man. She says, and I quote, I hate when my boyfriend always tries to fix shit. What? My thumb. Wait, which one is this? Which man this be this one now? I thought you wanted us to develop countries and protect the home. Now you are saying you don't want me to fix anything anyhow. My friend, what? I was confused. So very confused. So I said none of these things. I raised my hand. I said, can you explain that a little bit more? Because as a man, that sounds very confusing. Sounds very oxymoronic. And she says, I don't like it when my boyfriend tries to fix everything because it makes me feel like he believes that I can't do it myself. Sometimes I just want him to listen to the trouble that I'm having or the frustrations that I'm having with doing this task. I don't need you to do it for me all the time. Sometimes I just want you to listen to the frustrations that I'm having about doing it. And I was like, well, that seems relatively simple. That seems like a simple ask. But at the same time, once again, we as men are socialized to believe that women are these dainty creatures who cannot do things on their own. A lot of women did not choose that archetype. It is projected upon them. So, are we responding to our partner's humanity, or are we responding to their gender? Or are we responding to their gender expression? How it is that they have decided to assert themselves as women? What does it mean to be a partner who allows or who makes space for their partner to be a human being? Right? So we as men really do not take I learned all of that in 15 minutes, but in practice it happens in 3 seconds. In theory, it took me 15 minutes to process, but in practice it happens in 3 seconds. Right? That's the reason why being present is important. That's the reason why understanding context is important. That's the reason why active listening is important, because it gives us this opportunity to truly understand what this human being, not this woman, not your wife. Yes, all of these are titles, and yes, all of these are labels, but these are not the end all be all for this person's existence. And sometimes we like to minimize women to just the existences that we understand as men, because we, quite frankly, have socialized ourselves out of the emotional range to empathize with their humanity. And it's because we've socialized ourselves out of the emotional range to empathize with our own humanity. Right? So what does that mean? Or how is that relevant? Well, I did another podcast episode called Men Who Are Doing the Work. And I think a lot of people underestimate, as men who do the work, how much work it actually takes to do that work. Right? Because the reality of the situation is, so here's the thing. There are some men who I'm like, my boy, you just make us look bad. You just make us look real bad. But I do like to, even the score or try to level the playing field by saying there are black men who are doing the work, right? There are black men and there are men who are taking the time to deconstruct internalized toxic masculinity in order to be better partners, better fathers, better sons, better brothers. And do we really take the time to identify or recognize when that man is doing that thing? Right? So I just recently watched one of my I call them my kids, but one of my mentees from undergrad just sent me a video, and this woman was talking about how she began disrespecting a man because he did not put her in her place at some points in times or at critical points in the relationship. Now, I understand the idea of losing respect for somebody who does not have respect for themselves. Like, I understand that and I get that. I don't ever think that that's a reason for you to then begin challenging this person's ability to rectify your reckless behavior. That's inexcusable. And the reason being is because that means that you are now attempting to make this man be a man by disrespecting him. And you said out of your own mouth, this man did absolutely nothing wrong. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? But then we get upset with these brothers who, in a lot of ways, are furious because we don't validate when they have been traumatized by women who, in a very real way, have internalized toxic masculinity for themselves in order to build a nigga. Right? So are men able to be present, sustainable, loving partners? And the answer is yes. Are we doing the work? The answer is yes, some of us. More of us need to do more intentional work. I will not ever not say that. More of us need to do more critical and intentional work, and some of us are doing the work. But what does the work look like? Right? Are we used to genuinely seeing a man out in the open, in the vulnerable, working on himself emotionally? And the answer is, quite frankly, no. No. It's Men's Mental Health Month, right? And the conversation around men's mental health usually has a lot to do with intimate partner violence, emotional intelligence, and developing closer connections with the men around them, asking the men to be more vulnerable. Okay. Now, are we doing this because it's popular to ask for, or are we doing this because we're actually equipped to deal with what's going to happen after the fact? Right? Because in order for a man to be a more intimate and a more close and a more present partner, then that space has to be made for him. And I sincerely believe that a lot of us do not know how to make a soft and intimate space for men. Because we as men consistently lie and say we don't need soft and intimate spaces. And when I say soft, I don't necessarily mean like bunnies and puppies. Like, y'all have a really weird response to the word soft. Like, quick sidebar, y'all have a really weird response to the word soft. A very weird response. Like, bro, soft, gentle, without force, without edge, without blunt or sharp protrusion or intrusion. All of these things are, you know what I'm saying, similar to the idea or the concept of softness. Yet when I say men need to learn how to be softer with one another, y'all balk. Oh, me man, I leader, I alpha. Relax, bro. Like, chill out. Everything ain't gotta be hard all the time. But once again, are we equipped to go through that emotional processing space that genuinely requires, or like, okay, so psychologically, when we are moving from one behavior to another, there is a process called extinction, right? That person has to literally process through the fact that that behavior is no longer conducive to the outcomes that they are looking for. And they have to, at some times, let go of that behavior. They have to purge that behavior. Extinguishing a behavior usually has a sequence, or it has an arc that ends with, at times, it's like they say it's an explosion, but it's very much so just an exasperated frustration with the skill no longer applying to the environment in which the skill is being placed. So the dysregulation of emotions at times can mirror a quote unquote temper tantrum, right? But what happens after that is the implementation of the new skill. We make fun of men who have emotional temper tantrums, or we bully men who are attempting to break out of that shell of pain that usually encompasses a lot of men. And that's the reason why I say men who are not able to face their own emotions are more pussy than the men who they are calling pussies, simps, and betas. Because in order for a man to break through that hard shell, that shit takes time, that shit hurts, and that shit is constant. That is not something that happens in a day. You do not get rid of 20 years. You do not get rid of 30 years. You do not get rid of 40 years of habitual responses in 5 months. You do not get rid of this built up shame, resentment, and grief for not responding as a man is supposed to respond in 18 weeks. That's not how that happens. It isn't, right? And I firmly believe that there are men who are doing the work. I see men who are doing the work. I've worked with men who are doing the work. I counsel men and I do therapy with men who are doing the work. But that's not what we see on platforms. That's not what we tune into. Sincerely, it's not. It isn't. Because that's not sensational. It's not sexy. It's not... I almost knocked my microphone over, boy. It's not conflictual. Like it doesn't contribute to a positive narrative. So of course people are going to be drawn to it because, believe it or not, those are easy conversations to have. It's very easy to blame. It's very easy to blame. Very easy to have conversations about blame. It's much more difficult to have conversations about accountability. It is much more difficult to have conversations about self-accountability. Right? I see more defensiveness than yielding in a lot of these conversations. I see more trauma than healing in a lot of these conversations. People say they want to have conversations. People say they want to build. People say they want to do X, Y, and Z. But then when it really gets down to the nitty gritty, they're not challenging themselves in the moment to create a more conducive dialogue. Right? So what does that have to do with men being better partners? Because a lot of times it's us doing it. A lot of times it's us doing it. I was so sometimes when my stuff goes viral, I don't look at it from my social media pages. I look at it from my personal pages, and I'm just in the comments and I'm just reading. So my previous podcast episode, somebody reposted it on Facebook, and there was of course an explosion of conversation, and I just read. So I'm reading the comments of the men, because it was a man who reposted it. I'm reading the comments of the men, and the men are saying, "Oh, we not gonna do this. We woo 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 bop bop bop. We only reserve the woo 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 woo." And the man who reposted it said, "I know all of y'all in real life, and all of y'all are doing exactly what this man is saying. So why are y'all disagreeing with him? I'm confused." I fell out. I said, right? Somebody even watched the video and said, "I agree with what he's saying, but..." I'm sorry, what? Y'all, and when I say y'all, I mean everybody. Sometimes we argue for the sake of argument. We don't want to resolve conflict. We want to win. We want to win the gender war. We want to be victorious in the gender conflict. The reality of the situation is this. The gender war is a physical manifestation of spiritual suppression of true emotional expression within both men and women. So in other words, you are trying to win a war by pretending to be a person that is only one dimension of the entire person that you are. Is that a war you really want to win? Basically, you want to win a war of who can behave the most one-dimensionally? I mean, I understand. I get it. It's an identity to hold on to. But at some point in time, what happens beyond that? Right? And now I'm talking specifically to men because sometimes we defend things that we don't even believe in ourselves. We defend things that we don't even really believe in ourselves. Simply because a woman said it. You disagree with something simply because a woman said it. With enough assertion, with enough sincerity, with enough quote unquote masculinity in her voice for you to be like, nah, that can't be right. She's saying it with too much certainty. What? What, bro? So once again, are you arguing my alarm went off. My bad, y'all. So are you arguing the purpose of the presentation? Right? Are you arguing the fact, or are you arguing who presented it? That's not partnership. That's not collaboration. That's needless conflict. That's unnecessary friction. Now you are attempting to fit yourself into this one dimension of manhood or whatever it is that you believe it to be, so that you can invalidate what she's saying because what? She's a woman? It literally does not make any sense. So there are some people who will argue that women can talk about men being men better than men can talk about women being women. I can agree with that to a degree. And here's why. I'm not saying that women can teach men how to be better men, because there are some things that women do not understand simply because they are not men. But I will say that as far as observation and analysis of behavior, no, I can definitely say that women can speak more to men being men than men can speak to women being women. The reason being is because women had to learn, or women have to learn, how men behave and operate because their lives depend on it. Their lives depend on it. Our lives do not depend upon whether or not we understand women to a particular degree. Women's lives literally depend upon whether or not they understand men's behaviors, mannerisms, and ideologies. So, once again, like, women have a little bit more leeway there, and it has absolutely nothing to do with what it is that women are doing intentionally. It's how it is that the social fabric of the United States was designed. Which, once again, if we want to be more equitable partners, we have to understand that. We have to understand that. Theoretically, women have more access to information about men than men have access to information about women, theoretically. Because most of the things that are written, or most of the things that are constructed within an educational space, are from the male perspective. Like, that's, hey, I don't know what you want me to say about that, my boy. Like, we are in politics, we are literally having arguments over whether or not a woman has access to her own body, and y'all seriously think. Once again, when I say that sometimes men are delusional about where it is that we are in the world, we are delusional at times. Y'all want to sit up here and tell me the patriarchy doesn't exist, but Roe v. Wade. You literally have to deny an entire goings on of the immediate politics within your country in order to assert that point clearly and cleanly. That is delusional. That's not an opinion. That's not that's not an opinion. That's what's happening in real time. You are arguing with a woman over whether or not she has the ability to go to the doctor and say, hey, I want you to operate on my woman parts. I don't even think that's a conversation that men should be having, considering the fact that we don't know whether or not women can pee with a tampon in. Jesus is Lord. Have y'all seen that video, bro? Have y'all seen it? Have you seen it? There are literally men who are questioning whether or not women can urinate with a tampon in their vagina. And y'all want to sit here and somehow tell me that it's a woman's fault that she doesn't have an orgasm, yet we don't know the smallest, most functional thing about a woman's reproductive organs? We want to constantly call women female and we can't even identify the female parts correctly? A lot of us as men want women to settle for our mediocrity simply because we're men. And a lot of us as men do not value emotional labor enough to reconstruct that idea on a large scale. So yes, we as men do have the capability of being more present and better partners. We as men do have the capability of being more intentional partners. The first step to that, usually, and this is the reason why I keep trying to tell y'all, like, y'all, hey man, understanding that the feminine is not something that is disempowering, it just has its own set of empowering factors. The masculine is not power on and the feminine power off. That's idiotic. How can an energy source be power off? It's like pointing at a light bulb that's on and saying, yeah, that's off. What? I need y'all to think about what y'all be saying when y'all say it. If you have masculine energy and feminine energy, if both of these things are energy centers, and both of these things have inherent kinetic energy, meaning, or inherent potential energy, that means that the only thing that prevents that energy from moving is the circuitry within which that energy exists. Therefore, it is not masculine on, feminine off. It is masculine on impedes feminine on. In this circuitry. It doesn't have to be that way. But that is how it is right at this moment in time. Like, let's not be coy. Let's not belittle or minimize the very real sociological goings on simply because we do not want to admit that we have a hand in microcosmic oppression of women based upon our deeply held constitutions and morals as men. Let's not do that. That's intellectually unfair, it's intellectually sloppy, and it's emotionally jarring. Like, but y'all gonna keep doing it. Because y'all care more about your wee-wees than, collaboration and progress with your mates. So it's okay. Right? And that's what I mean when I say we are completely and totally capable. Like, we as men have the capability. Hold on, y'all finna turn on this light real quick. We as men are capable. Right? We have the ability. But are we doing the work? Some of us are. Some of us are engaging in the intent, right? Some of us are engaging in the reconstructing. Some of us are engaging in the labor. Most of us are not, because we do not value that type of labor. We do not see it as a material thing that we can go show somebody that we've done and get a yay Jimmy for. Whole time women are socialized to operate in this emotional space mostly because they have to take care of men who refuse to do the emotional labor themselves. They have to take care of children who usually have been harmed by the man who believes that emotional labor is all over feminine. I cause the damage and you bandage it up. Why do you have to cause damage? Why does that have to be a central piece of your self-definition as a man? Why does discipline require deconstruction? Sorry, not deconstruction. Why does discipline require damage? The lack of willingness to reevaluate what masculinity looks like causes a lot of the stress and the strain that we as men have in our relationships. Sincerely, our inability and our unwillingness to reconstruct or to at least even just reassess what our own masculinity looks like causes unnecessary strain and unnecessary conflict in our relationships. We want to be a man so bad, or we want to be the man so bad, that we don't look at what we need to be in order to meet the needs of this immediate human family. Them kids don't care about you being a man, they care about you being a father. That woman cares about you being a man only as far as she has grown in her conceptualizations of womanhood and manhood. So if you choose a mate who understands how to be emotionally present for a man, she don't care about you being a man, she care about you being her partner, her husband. If you believe in higher powers, they don't care about you performing manhood, they care about you being a fierce servant leader. You and the people who you have chosen to reinforce this egotistical projection of manhood are the only people who care about this egotistical projection of manhood. They are the only ones that care. The only ones. You and the people you have chosen to continue to reinforce this ego projection of what you believe to be masculinity are the only people who care about what it is that you're doing and you being a man. Sincerely. Because in my mind, the true mark of manhood is your ability to define yourself as a man. Because what? You need other men telling you that you're a man in order for you to feel like you're a man? That's not being a man as you all describe it, right? I'm not going to say that removes from your manhood, but based upon you all's logic, that's not being a man, that's people pleasing. Y'all just call it something different. If you are in a space where you do not challenge your peers to move away from toxic behaviors or things that are immoral, that's pandering. And a lot of y'all pander to one another because you all tell one another to continue to keep up the behavior that ultimately damages your wife your communities, and your families. The word pander means to speak into or to make accessible things that allow the exercise or the implication of immoral acts. So, based upon that logic, either one or two things is apparent. One, you believe that the way that it is that you and other men engage in manhood is moral and upstanding and chivalrous, which I could debate because chivalry has to do with honor, follow through, and being or having the qualities of a good knight. Because chivalry came around in the Middle Ages. The concept of chivalry came around in the Middle Ages. So you believe that honor, justice, and upstanding citizenry is the SA, the R star PE of women and homophobia. Debatable. Or you don't know what the word pandering actually means and you're just repeating it because somebody else said it. Because once again, to pander means to either speak into, convince, or make accessible to an individual immoral acts. You are not critically identifying, self-evaluating what it is that you believe to be manhood, and that's not masculine. At least not divine masculine. It's a type of masculine, but it doesn't align with masculinity of the divine nature. Like, it just doesn't. Because divine masculinity seeks to uplift and support divine femininity so that they can collaborate in order to give birth to or bring something into existence. If your partnership or your partnership style has to disempower the feminine in order to assert itself as an authority, it's not collaborative. That's conflictual. It's conflict based. You have to constantly be in some type of conflict in order to assert dominance. You always have to be fighting. Why? Because that external fight is a projection of the internal fight that you have with your own conceptualizations of masculinity. If you are still in that fight, brother, there is no need for you to try to entrap a woman into that fight. It's not fair. It's not fair. You either need to tell that woman that you are not prepared for that type of responsibility at the door and allow her to make her own decision, or you need to tell her at some point in time, I'm going to do some ain't shit because that's in my nature right now, and I'm just going to let you know. Because the reality of the situation is you don't have to be in a relationship in order for you to be an effective partner. You don't. The word partner is not even always in the context of a relationship or a romantic relationship. Community partner, business partner, project partner, house partner. It's being a partner. A number of men affix their egotistical masculinity on how it is that they can dominate and control women. Do you know how annoying that is in a workplace? Do you know how annoying that is societally? To believe that just because you are a man, you somehow have a leg up on logic and reasoning, when the reality of the situation is because we as men do not socialize ourselves to access emotional intelligence parts of our brains, that we process less data than women do. on average? How do we have a leg up on logic and reasoning when we literally remove emotional intelligence from our repertoire? That's delusional once again. Oh, emotions intercept the way that it is that you make decisions, or they can bring awareness to how important a decision is as it relates to you being alive. Sometimes being calm about something is counterproductive. Sometimes being calm about something is counterproductive because it does not appropriately translate the urgency with which you have to move. Sometimes it does not translate the depth to which this thing impacts you. This is the reason why men walk around here with all of these ailments, but don't nobody know until it's too late. Because I'm good, I'm chilling, I'm fine. Whole time your whole leg throbbing and you can barely feel your feet. I'm chilling, I'm good. No, you're not. You are not. Emotional expression is not a sign of lesser intelligence. That's idiotic. That's idiotic. And quite frankly, if you want to be real, most of education is infused with white supremacist ideology to begin with. So whenever we as black folk begin talking about education, like speaking as if though these behaviors are the end, these respectability politics behaviors are the end all be all, I look at y'all funny. Because once again, we are using rules that we did not make up in order to define our identity as people. It's very weird. It's very weird. Right? So, on the other side of that, right, because somebody in my comments just said, I don't think that most men want to hide their emotions and pain is almost never accepted. I can say that as well. Right? There are some men who genuinely want to be more emotional, or they want to emote more. But once again, what happens is that emotion is not seen as valid. It's not seen as valid. And some women will say, oh, but it's because of other men, it's that and third. Patriarchy is an idea. Masculinity is an idea that is equipped to an individual in order to exercise in a society. Just because men came up with the idea does not mean that you are absolved of equipping that idea and weaponizing it against men. Please stop doing that. That's minimizing. It's not having an honest conversation. It isn't. Because the difficulty in developing or the difficulty in upholding that emotional labor for men, I would say, is almost always overlooked. Because we believe that as men, because men are these champions of feeling no pain or champions of being in no emotional distress, that taking on a skill that they've probably never tried in their life up to that point, or has only tried in a small capacity up to that point, like plugging yourself back into your emotions is a difficult and energetically overwhelming time for a lot of men. Plugging yourself back up to your emotions after being unplugged from them for so long, for a lot of men, is an overwhelming and emotional time. We do not, in a lot of ways, give men that space and that ability to emote freely. I seen a video of this boy dancing from South Africa doing the hips dance, right? He was hitting that shit, popping the chest, bop, bop, bop. And there was some women in the comments saying, if I saw my man doing this online, I would cry. I'm like, y'all mad homophobic in these comments, shorty. But I bet y'all the same women asking these men to be more emotionally vulnerable with you. I had to toe tag one of my clients about that. I was like, are you allowing yourself to be in a space of safety and vulnerability that you are asking this man to provide to you? Are you? Because it sounds like you are asking this man to be vulnerable and to emote to you to a point, but because you don't know what that looks like for yourself, you're going to continue to ask him to do this until he gets to a point where he's overdoing it for you, or it hits your threshold of now it's not masculine enough, and you're going to try to discard him. That's not fair. How you asking for a soft man, or how you asking for a gentle man, and you don't even know how to accept gentleness from a man without believing that something is going to happen behind it? How are you going to ask this man to access his feminine, but then discard him for accessing too much of it for his own benefit? Now you mad because he with another woman who has more emotional intelligence than you, and they thriving. It's a lot of nerve. It's a lot of nerve, sir. It's a lot of nerve. When I ask the question of whether or not men are able to be more present and more developed partners, I'm not saying for women. I'm saying for themselves first. Because the reality of the situation is, what some of these men are saying is accurate. There are some women who are asking for these gentler men, but do not know that those gentler men come with higher emotional labor requirements. There are some women that I will not look twice at, not because they not bad, because some of the shit you say. Oh, my man could never. You sound like a clown. I got smoke for y'all too. You sound like a clown. And then you'll turn around and you'll say it's your preference. No, Miss Mamas, it's internalized misogyny. It's internalized toxic masculinity. I don't know about that. They look a little sus to me. They look a little suspect to me. Okay. He just need to He just need to He just need to come out. Woo, woo. Okay. Oh, that could never be me. That could Okay. And yet here you are upset that men are weaponizing the same type of hypermasculinity against you in different ways. But you don't see how those two things are connected. You're not as emotionally intelligent as you believe you are. You're emotionally descriptive. Right? You can identify and describe. But intelligence is the ability to apply knowledge in order to achieve a desired outcome. And, your desired outcome may be made to be with a man who is slightly homophobic, who got a little edge to him, by all means. But, I hope you've grown enough for them outcomes. Because the probability of you finding a man who's going to be on that side of the spectrum and still meeting all of your emotional needs is very low. Because the reality of the situation is men who exist at the intersection of homophobia and masculinity usually have a low emotional intelligence quotient. And that's just based upon probabilities. Men who exist at the intersection of higher adherence to traditional masculine ideologies usually have a lower emotional intelligence quotient. So, ladies, if that's the type of man that you want, I say that's the type of man that you want. But be prepared to do more emotional labor by yourself. And don't be out here running around saying these men ain't shit, when the reality of the situation is you are picking your poison. Every single one of us are accountable to our attraction patterns and our attraction behaviors. I firmly believe that. So before you get into a relationship or before you find yourself in a partnership with somebody, you need to assess what it is that you actually like or dislike. It'll tell you a lot about yourself. Because the reality of the situation is, I know homophobic women turn me all the way off. I know that transphobic women turn me all the way off. I know women with low emotional intelligence quotients turn me all the way off. I know women who are looking for emotional convenience turn me all the way off. I know women who cannot logically move themselves out of a paper bag turn me all the way off. I know that women with lack of ambition turn me all the way off. Why? Because these are the same type of women who will turn around and project all of those things onto me as the man, simply because I'm a man. You have lost your cotton picking mind. You are my partner, not my child. I'm looking for somebody to add to me, not to be a fucking liability. But the issue is, a lot of us as men are willing to take on liabilities because it makes us feel more like men. So sometimes our partnerships, once again, what it is that we are looking for in these partnerships needs to be reassessed. And us as men specifically need to be more honest about the type of women that we are engaging with that cause us these types of harms and then allude us to these types of outcomes. So in other words, are we actually picking wholesome women, or are we picking women that have internalized misogyny and internalized toxic masculinity themselves to try to make us feel more traditional or more masculine in our gender performance roles? Because once again, as a man, if you want to feel masculine, if you want to be that man, that's fine. Just know that you are going to have to be accountable to those outcomes. You are not going to get a woman who's going to let up on the pedal of you providing for the household, because that's what she's looking for. You're not going to get a woman who's going to allow you to emote in ways that are outside of the masculine norm. Why? Because that's the way that she identifies you as a man and her man. She's not going to be able to give you that space or that peace that you are looking for. Why? Because she does not have the emotional intelligence to facilitate that for you, because she has internalized what men do is not what you are attempting to look for. So if that's your type of woman, say that. If that's your type of woman, say that. But also know that women who are conventionally attractive, if they are not emotionally intelligent, they will not know that people usually treat them more pleasantly because they're more societally attractive. That's not anything that they can control. If they are not careful, they will identify themselves as somebody who should simply be taken care of simply because they show up and look pretty. Why? Because they have not been taught any other way. They will fall into the identity and the idea that their complete and total identity is their ability to be objectified and commodified. And once again, some women are completely and totally comfortable with that. But are you completely and totally comfortable with maintaining an object? Sincerely, right? And for the women who are in my comments, I'm not saying that this woman has reduced herself to an object. I'm saying that a large part of her identity is intertwined with being objectified for commerce. And she will defend that reality because, not necessarily because it's something that she wants to defend, but because that's all she knows. And that's all she's been reinforced for. So once again, are we as men capable of being present partners? Are we as men capable of being full partners? Are we as men capable of being holistic partners? Yes, we are. Do I believe that enough of us are doing the work? No. I sincerely believe that more of us need to be doing critical and intentional work. What does that work look like? That work looks like us removing the association that feminine means disempowered. It is simply a different power source with different resources that we can learn how to pull from and employ within our day-to-day lives. How do we as men become more present in our relationships? By utilizing very simple body language. When a partner is speaking to you, turn toward them. Listen to them. Don't try to fix. Ask them, are you looking for feedback or are you just looking to vent? Be honest with what it is that you do and do not understand. Just practice listening. What does this mean for the brothers who believe that these things are not valuable? It's your decision. You are doing your own thing. I will not argue with you because of your own belief this thing. That's your problem, right? But for the brothers who want to do the work, I know some people, right? Come check me out on Instagram. I'm always tagging, you know what I'm saying, my man Kizzle, Express Yourself Black Man, you know. I'm always tagging the King's Corner. I'm always tagging Black Men Heal. You dig what I'm saying? It's places where you can do work. It's places that you can come and receive the safety that you are looking for. For my black women who are looking to unlearn some of the things that they've learned over time about the men. I know some cold ladies down at the Soul Care Collective. You feel what I'm saying? We just, that's family again. Like, oh, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for the spirits and the ancestors for bringing us back together. But yes, for the ladies who are looking to heal some more of their own things. Some of the ladies at the Soul Care Collective do great work. The ladies at the Soul Care Collective do amazing work, right? So once again, come check me out on Instagram. I tag them in a lot of my posts as well, at the Soul Care Collective or at Soul Care Collective. They do amazing work in the community as it relates to holistic healing. They are an online holistic healing resource. So if you are looking for referrals to people who do Reiki healing, people who do, sound healing, people who do all types of holistic healing, the Soul Care Collective got you. As far as me, myself, once again, my website has been completely and totally updated. So all of my links can be found on my primary link, which is www.blackwealth.com. If you click on that link either in my Instagram bio or in my TikTok bio, what you will see is the homepage. You dig what I'm saying? Go give it a read, and then you'll see 3 links. The first link will be an application to work with me one-on-one if that's what it is that you would like to do. The application is online and it is live, so if you would like to go check that out, you can. Please read through it carefully. There are a multitude of pieces of information that are imperative for you to understand before you come apply to work with me as a one-on-one coach. The second link is to my book clubs that are hosted by ShareSpace. Those book clubs are a less intense way to get in contact with me and to engage with me outside of the TikTok and Instagram platform. Both of those things are subscription based, and they are book clubs in which we examine particular literary topics in order for us to implement them into our day-to-day lives. I have 2 book clubs. One book club is the Love Book Club, and it focuses a lot on self-development, self-love, self-care, self-alignment, and the Wealth Book Club focuses on removing intergenerational trauma around money in order to develop generational wealth that continues to remove and dismantle that generational trauma around wealth, specifically for Black people. So once again, I have the Love Book Club and the Wealth Book Club, both available through my website. And then the last link on my website will be an invitation to join my Mindful Finance course and incubator. The Mindful Finance course and incubator is an incubator that is designed to assist you in removing the links and removing the behaviors that are learned through intergenerational money traumas and helping you relearn more effective, less toxic money behaviors that can move you closer to generational wealth. Now, this incubator is offered both on a subscription and a flat fee basis. When you purchase the subscription or when you enroll into the course, what will happen is that you will get access to the course. The course is a 6 to 8 week course that is broken up into modules that cover different things. The course is updated as people go through it and as people give me feedback. And after you get done with the course, or I'm sorry, concurrently when you are doing the course, you also have the incubator. Now, the incubator is something that I'm very proud of, because within that incubator, as you are learning new money and financial literacy skills, I've collected a host of industry specialists, industry experts, ranging in anything from credit repair to credit leveraging to funding to leveraging positive credit lines, Airbnb, e-commerce, learning how to read the financial markets technically and fundamentally. I've gathered a number of financial experts that can help you not only become more financially literate, but also practice the skills that you are learning within the mindful finance course. So once again, all of those things are available through my link on not only my Instagram bio, but my TikTok bio. So yeah, go give it a look, see, come, you know what I'm saying, see what I got situated in the in the back office. We're not in the back office, on the homepage. Y'all know what I meant. But once again, good people, great people, God's people, thank you for sitting with me this morning. If you all have any questions for me, please don't be afraid to hop in the comments, hop in the inbox. But I'm about to hop off of YouTube live. I'm about to stop the stream. So yeah, and I'm finna hop in these TikTok comments and see what's going on. But as is and as was and as will always be, peace, love, soul, butter rolls. I'll see y'all next time.